Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the Contractor Marketing Show. I'm your host, Matt Thibeau, and today we have a very special episode. It's the first episode, actually, and the title of this episode is How to Create World-Class Advertising for Contractors. And today, I have a very special guest. I have our very own ad manager extraordinaire, Matt Favreau. If you guys don't know who Matt Favreau is, he actually works at our business, Savant Marketing Agency, and he is our ad manager extraordinaire. He's managing all of our ad campaigns. He's done million-dollar campaigns for our clients, Facebook ads, Google ads. I'm excited to have him on the show today. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Matt, happy to be here.
Great to have you, man. It was actually funny. Like, we're sitting down, we're like, all right, how are we going to do this podcast? You know, it's the first episode. We really want to bring you guys a lot of value. And I thought, it'd be really cool if we just kind of sit down and talk shop about a lot of the things that are going on right now in advertising, specifically with like Facebook ads, Google ads. A lot of contractors are asking us all the time, how can I get this to work? How can I get that to work? And so I kind of want to just jump right into things here and just talk a little bit about like what is world-class advertising. I want to jump right into things because I think a lot of contractors in the past, unfortunately, maybe have been burned with advertising. Maybe they tried a little bit of it themselves, and I think a lot of people are kind of wondering like, what actually should I expect from advertising? What does that mean? So I'll go into a little bit of what world-class advertising means to me first. And so if you aren't aware of what we do, so I own Savant Marketing Agency. We help contractors grow their business with digital marketing. And to me, world-class advertising basically means actually being able to create a system into your business that's going to bring in new leads, that's going to consistently bring in that new business for you, right? And so it's like, we have a lot of campaigns where it's like world-class advertising. An example of it would be, I most recently posted an example, one of our clients, Zachary Provost from Provost and Son Roofing, and he tripled his business in a year working with us, right? And he's getting leads every day, bought a new truck. So to me, I would say that world-class advertising is being able to build a system in your business that's going to give you that consistent lead flow and that predictability that you can actually count on, right? So I'm curious, Matt, like to you, you're more in the trenches, Facebook ads, Google ads. What would you say that world-class advertising would be for you?
Yeah, so a lot of the guys we talk to, they think that maybe putting up a couple of ads on Facebook, doing some organic posts is going to get them the business that they want. And it could definitely help, but there's a lot more that goes into it. There's very specific things like copy, offers, good pictures, and a lot of that kind of speaks to the fact of getting the good leads, the consistent lead flow that we want to get for our clients.
Yeah, 100%. And what I thought would be really cool is kind of like, to drill into Matt and for me to share a little bit of like what, if you could ask me like, what are the top things when it comes to advertising that I could do for my contracting business to be able to get myself out there and get more leads? Like, what would the top things be? And so I thought I would just dive right into those things. And so the first thing that I would say, which Matt touched on, would be the first thing is getting the offer right, really getting the offer right. And if you've ever listened to some of my things like that I put out there in our Facebook group or some of the content or our book, Digital Marketing Secrets for Contractors, you're definitely going to know that I talk a lot about this at length. A lot of contractors, unfortunately, when they think about, okay, like I want to put out a promotion out there, I want to do some advertising, they think immediately like 15% off, 10% off, I need to do some kind of discount type offer, right? And a lot of the time, you're going to end up attracting what I call a price shopper, people who are just looking for a deal, right? And so instead, what I like to do is do a value-based offer that's going to grab someone's attention, but then bring in the right type of clientele. And I talk about this all the time. And so I wanted to kind of bounce off to you, Matt, like what are some of the offers that you've seen for our contracting clients that have worked really, really well? And then what are your thoughts about some other types of offers?
Yeah, so generally we kind of go with the extended warranty offer. That's kind of our bread and butter. It works for most of the contractors that we work with. An important thing is kind of making sure that the offer makes sense to the service and the product our customer is delivering. So for example, with some of our painting clients, we have longer term extended warranties for exterior services, but maybe for our clients that focus more on interiors, those don't make as much sense. So they're not as appealing because the interiors isn't exposed to the elements as much. And people maybe don't need as much certainty with the warranties there. So we do things like free color consultations that seem to work well for painting clients.
Yeah, 100% too. And it's like, something as well that Matt does with a lot of our clients, and that a lot of things that I teach too, is the importance of niching, right? It's like so many guys, and you've seen this before with some of our clients, it's like a lot of guys will try and put out ads where it's like, hey, like we do basements, we do bathrooms, we do kitchens, we do flooring, we do roofing, we do painting, and it's like when you're trying to be everything to everyone, you basically end up just being nothing to no one,
For sure.
right? And so what's some of your experience maybe been with niching? Just because what I personally find is that every time that we'll take a contractor, let's say, for example, we've got a GC, a general contractor, and the first thing that I usually ask is I'm going to be like, okay, what are you doing most of right now in your business that's really driving the profit, right? And that's what I call the primary profit maker. And so once they say that, maybe let's say they say, okay, like during the summer seasons, it's decks. It's like, cool, man, let's just build out a decking campaign so we can just drive those leads to you, right? And so what I personally find is that it's just going to be a lot more effective in actually being able to, A, drive the profit that's necessary to get you the results that you're looking for ads, but then also it's just going to make your business simpler as well, right? And so you've probably seen with some of our clients where they're trying to jump into these different niches. Like, what's kind of your experience with that as well?
Well, picking the primary profit maker makes the most sense for a lot of reasons. One, they usually have a lot of pictures, which work well for our advertising. Focusing on one service gives us the ability to adapt, try different angles for the service. Because if we're jumping all over the place, not only do the customers that they're going after kind of get confused with what they're offering, even for us, it's like, how do we hone in on what makes sense for the market, for our client? So yeah, like you said, I'm all for the primary profit maker. Makes the most sense.
Yeah, and then when you're jumping around with the niche, it's like, cool, now we have to create this whole new like offer and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you have pictures, man. It's like...
Yeah, a lot of work goes into it for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just makes the most sense. It's the easiest and it gets the best results generally. So
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit. So it's like, offer being like, okay, special offer, extended warranty. We talked about color consultation, like these value add type offers instead of discounting. Something that I've personally experienced is where also it's like we want the actual business itself to have a good offer in terms of like the value being traded, right? It's like, it's not to be harsh, but it's like sometimes it's hard to like polish a turd, right? Like if the actual service itself or like the end result of it is not so great, it's pretty hard for us to market that and get the results too that a client really wants, right? Because like, marketing is basically just adding gasoline to the fire, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like if the actual business itself doesn't put in the care and the effort and like, hey, we really want to go above and beyond for our clients, then it's harder for us to create momentum around that, right? If we get you leads and then you close that and then they have a great experience, they're going to refer you to all these different people, right? And so it's like that is a really important aspect of world-class advertising, is just having a good product, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
No, if they don't deliver a quality product too, it could be risky. Like if they're giving out these warranty offers and they're not, like you said, putting the care into their work, and then they deliver a subpar product, and then they run into all these, requests for come back, fix this little thing, detracts from their main profit driving service.
Yeah. And that's why like so many contractors will always be like, oh, like we have the best quality, we do all this stuff. And it's like, okay, let's introduce measurable quality, because that's a subjective thing to say, oh, our quality is the best, right? So let's put your money where your mouth is and let's implement something that can be measurable, right? And so it's like, then once we kind of go into there, people are like, oh, like maybe we'll do like a 1 year, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait, I thought you said that like, you stand behind your work and stuff. And so it's like, if that's really the case, then doing like a 5-year warranty or something like that, like you shouldn't be getting callbacks.
No. And some of the things that we focus on during onboarding of clients is some of like the credentials that they have in terms of their service. So like BBB is the big ones people know, but like service specific things like Schluter system for the tile,
showers,
for tiling. It's like if they're members of that, or if they operate with that in mind, we know that their product is going to be a higher quality than the average tiling contractor.
100%. And so, now that it's like we've talked about like the whole offer thing. So that was kind of the first thing that I want to talk about that I think would be, if you're looking to create world-class advertising, first nailing down the offer. You've got a great offer, you've got the niche, you're actually doing like what you're promising for people. So you got that sorted out. Here's kind of where I'm excited to hear you weigh in, because you're a lot more in the trenches in terms of like the ad stuff. And so the next thing that is very important once you have the offer dialed in is going to be the traffic, right? You can have the best offer anytime, but basically you need to have enough eyeballs looking at what it is that you're offering. That's what traffic is. For people who don't know, it's like you want people coming in through your door, right? People who are looking at your ads, looking at your offer, they're seeing you around, you got the exposure. When contractors come to us and say, I'm just looking for more exposure right now, I want to get my name out there, that's traffic. That's what that is. And so in our business, and I would say for most contractors, Facebook ads and Google ads and your Google My Business listing are probably going to be the primary things you're going to use to advertise your business online. And so I've got my little notepad here. I think it would be good, first off, Matt, if you kind of just share some of your thoughts of like Facebook ads. Let's talk about that first, because I think a lot of contractors maybe have experience like boosting an ad here and there, doing a little bit of that. Maybe you hired an agency at some point and you did do some like real Facebook ads. I think a majority of contractors probably just posting in Facebook groups, posting on their, they're not really sure of like what I should do. And so let's give a brief breakdown of Facebook ads. I would love to hear that from you. And then we can talk a little bit about like the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah, for sure. So all that organic stuff that you mentioned is pretty important, like posting on their public page, posting in groups, that kind of stuff. They get some metrics that they can look at in terms of engagement for posts, which is great to know. And then, maybe they go and they boost the posts, which obviously helps grow their business. But looking at ads specifically, there is some pretty important things for Facebook ads. In terms of Facebook versus Google, Facebook's obviously going to be a broader, colder market that will increase your brand notoriety because more people are going to see you. You're going to be in people's faces. And what we do is specifically we look at a city, we look at an offer, we market to the city, the demographic that makes the most sense for the offer, which is generally pretty broad because Facebook has changed a lot over time with how specific you can get with ads. So that's how we utilize Facebook. Yeah,
and like what I tell contractors all the time is like, okay, Facebook ads are going to be a lot more leads coming through. You're going to have a high flow of leads, but the quality of the leads isn't going to be as great as something like Google. We'll get into Google in just a sec, but it's like, think of Facebook like you're taking an ad and you're putting it in front of your ideal prospect and you're saying, hey, do you want this? Like, do you want this thing? And you're showing it again and again and again and again. So it might take 5 times for that person to see that, 7 times, whatever. It's definitely going to be more of like a repeat type thing. But what's cool with like what Matt is doing is where we can show images of like different images, and then you're maybe testing like 10 different images and you see
more sometimes.
Yeah. Like, talk a little bit about that. The split testing is what you call it.
Yeah, honestly, you can get very specific with testing. Some of our clients, I've tested up to 200 ad variations.
Wow.
Not always 200 ads per se, but maybe up to like 30, 40 ads. And then we can get granular with city-specific targeting if they're a bigger client operating in multiple cities. Just testing different things because we want to see what makes the most sense for our clients' ad spend. And if we're just kind of going broad all the time, we might get good results. But if we can capitalize on a more specific subset of the market and do it more efficiently, that's always great. So yeah, I'm always testing ads. It kind of circles back to the point of earlier, like having quality work, taking good pictures. The more pictures you give us of your work, that I could test different ad angles, so before and afters, great after shots with different text overlays, different offers. The more we test, the better the results. And like Matt said, maybe the lead quality is a little bit colder. There's more sifting, but there's going to be the frequency of leads, and for sure you're going to get your brand out there.
Yeah. So what would be like some of the main things, like you're running an ad now and you're looking, okay, I want to test. Like, what's the first kind of thing that for a contractor listening to this and he's like, okay, like I want to try doing some tests. What would be the first things that would test?
So in an ideal world, I like to test before and afters primarily. I think it showcases
before and after pictures of the work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Before and after pictures of the work. It showcases basically exactly what a customer can expect. We try to highlight the best of their work, give the best idea of like, this is the outcome we want. And on top of that, even like if you want a specific type of job, so if you want $50,000 decks,
right,
we don't want to be showing $3,000 little deck repairs because that's not the client you want, or the customer you want to attract.
Yeah.
Still might generate leads. It's just not what our client wants. So we try to even go the step beyond that and be like, okay, give us the pictures that make the most sense for the jobs you want to attract. So I'm testing, different before and afters. That's generally what works the best, we found.
Yeah.
We've moved on to testing like different text overlays. So we, make different copy for the service that they're offering, different angles for the offer that they're marketing.
Yeah.
Just testing different copy, different pictures.
Yeah. So what would be like some of the, we're still on Facebook ads here, like what would be some of the main mistakes that you would see, like when you see a Facebook ad done wrong compared to like done right, like what are you usually seeing?
Facebook is a little harder to mess up versus Google. Facebook, I think the main thing would be targeting like the wrong service area, maybe being too broad in your age targeting because, people that are like 18 to 25, while their eyes might be on Facebook, they might not have the money for the services. So it's like, it's kind of a wasted, small ad spend if you're targeting those people. And then obviously like mistakes with copy, mistakes with an automated messaging tool that we implement for our clients. If there's, putting in the wrong phone number, which we're very diligent, that doesn't really happen, but it can happen. These are the kinds of things that might happen on Facebook that would hurt your results.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just thinking, I remember you were telling me a little bit ago, you were like talking about the targeting on Facebook and you were like, this is completely different now. Like this has changed 100%. And so it's like a lot of people who don't really know maybe what they're doing could like fall into some of these, I don't know, traps, quote unquote, that like Facebook will leave for you where they're basically trying to get you to waste your money, right?
Unfortunately, with the targeting specifically, we operated with like city specific targeting, only people living in the city.
Yeah.
Facebook's taken that away now. It's people that have live in the city or have recently been in the city. So it's obviously just a little bit less quality now.
Yeah.
And it's unavoidable. It's just a Facebook change they've made. And if you're operating in like big cities, like, major capital cities or whatever, where there's people in and out all the time, more people are going to be seeing your ads that are not necessarily living in the city.
Right.
So it just comes down to like maybe making your ads more obviously city specific. So seeing the city directly on the ad, so people across the country that were just in the city don't reach out because it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Like marketers will ask me all the time. They'll say like, how are you running your Facebook ads? Like, how are you doing that? Are you doing this specific type of targeting? Are you doing all this stuff? But what Matt just said there, it's like most of this is going to rely into the message, which is what the copy is, right? And so it's like in your ad, if you're saying like, hey, like people in Chicago or whatever, like you want to be able to call out in your copy exactly what it is that you do, who it is that you're selling to or offering to them to, where, right? So it's like, that's why we're always putting the city name in the actual ad. So then it's like you're calling out to that person, right?
Yeah. Facebook's like so broad and affordable that it doesn't really matter if people see the ad. It's more so it comes down to like our clients having to sift through the messages and responses where it's like, this is a time sink. Maybe they did a phone call and they did a request for a quote and they wasted 30 minutes because the person was 3 hours outside the service area, where it's like, that obviously sucks. We want to reduce that as much as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And you were mentioning how like you can exclude those areas, right? And you're putting those into exclusion. So then it's like you're doing your best to at least like
within Facebook's, ever-changing guidelines. And our clients know it's just something that it happens, and we work our best to mitigate it.
Yeah, 100%. So let's switch gears a little bit. So that's Facebook, right? It's like we've talked about that. Let's switch gears into Google Ads. What are your thoughts on Google Ads for getting high quality traffic to your offer?
Yeah, Google Ads is definitely great for exactly that, the high quality traffic, the easiest close for our clients, obviously more expensive generally in terms of like cost per lead. But if you're closing them at a 50% frequency or whatever it is, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
So what we do is we generally do search campaigns, bid on hyper specific keywords that we think have the highest likelihood to convert based on either the market or our past experience. And then we tailor pretty strong ad copies to be exactly in line with exactly the keywords that we're bidding on.
Yeah. There is so much that you can mess up with Google Ads compared to Facebook ads.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so many little things in terms of like policies and in terms of like just setting up the ads, targeting. There's so many little nuanced things. And there's so many little like nuanced things that you could do that aren't necessarily mistakes, but just to like add to the efficiency of your campaign.
Yeah, 100%. So like, when it comes to Google ads, there are a lot of different things that you need to come into play, right? So Facebook ads, you don't even need a website. You don't need a website. You don't need a landing page. You don't need anything. You can just run it straight through there. It's super easy to get in, usually cheaper, like what Matt was saying. Google ads, very different. There's more of a barrier to entry, right? You need to have a website, but ideally what you want to have is a landing page. And so it's like you've got this one-page site, basically, if you don't know what a landing page is, and that's where you put your offer on there. So you highlight your niche on there, your offer, you show some before and after pictures on this landing page, you got some great testimonials, and basically the only purpose of this page is you want to send people to that to generate estimates for the niche that you pick, right? And so Google ads, you're going to be running your ads to this page. And so right there's already a barrier to entry basically that's been introduced, right? You need to have a good landing page. So you got this landing page, but it's like now there's a whole bunch of other things that you need to come into play as well, right? Because like what Matt was saying is like you've got these keywords that you're bidding on, right? Maybe talk a little bit about keywords and like what the importance of that is.
For sure. So if you're offering a very specific service, you obviously want to get in front of the right customer. And if you're doing search campaigns, it's customers searching for your service. So generally what we do is we take the niche and then we target things like niche plus company, niche plus city, niche plus near me. Those seems to be the highest likelihood to convert, the highest quality traffic. It's the easiest time for us to craft a landing page that works with the keywords because Google has things like quality score that affects when your ads show, how much it costs your ads to show. So that's basically keywords in general. Obviously, there's lots of that's grand. Like it is, there's very specific things you could do, but
yeah. And talk a little bit about like a negative word list, because when I talk about this to a lot of contractors, they're like, I had no idea about that. Like, is that why I'm getting all these phone calls from like this random like company, whatever? Talk about that.
Yeah, quite possibly. A negative keyword list basically just eliminates certain words that, when included in a search, will stop your ads from showing. So things like free, affordable, Home Depot, do it yourself, all these things where it's like people aren't necessarily looking for a company to provide the service. They're looking for some other option. They're looking for a discounted service, whatever it might be. We could, make keyword lists, negative keyword lists up to thousands of keywords to just hyper target our, when our ads show, like, with the exact match strategy plus a negative keyword list, for the most part, our ads are almost never showing for things that we don't want it to show for.
Yeah. And it's like, like we recently had a new client who came to us and he was like, can you do a little audit on like my Google ads account? And it's like, we pop in there and it's like, dude, your ads are showing in Brazil.
Yeah. And that's a big thing with the targeting. It's like, you're already spending a lot of money on these Google ads clicks. If you're not showing in the right area or for the right thing, you're going to be burning your ad budget really quickly.
Yeah. So like, what's kind of like, would you say is the main difference between like Facebook ads to Google ads from what we've just kind of talked about? It's like, how do you kind of see it going in for a contractor?
Yeah. So I mean, like Google ads is, you're going after the warm traffic. So you want to speak to their needs. You want to give the best offer. You want to come across, want your ads to show.
For people who aren't marketers, what would be like the warm traffic? Like, what would you say that would be?
So it's people that are actually in the market for the service.
They're looking for what you're doing.
Yeah, they're actively searching for things like painting company near me.
Yeah.
Whereas on Facebook, like Matt said earlier, we're just putting our ads in front of people that are on Facebook. They might not have any desire for painting whatsoever. Yeah. Whereas Google, they're looking for painting.
Looking to fix this problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where the cost per click comes in at like $10, $20 sometimes, because people know it's like, hey, this person is looking for painting. Everybody's going after them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can craft the ad to speak to their needs the best, you have the budget to work around the competition.
Yeah.
You can craft the best ad copy, the best landing page. That's how you capitalize on Google ads.
Yeah. So would you say that Google ads is literally just a bidding war, or like what goes into that?
It can be, obviously, like especially when you're first entering a market, you want to get like good data to see like, okay, what keywords are converting for this market, because not every location speaks the same language, right? Some people might convert on near me, some people might convert on the city, like different companies, different cities. So yeah, you want to bid initially to get the data. And then after that, ideally, you kind of see, okay, this makes the most sense for my client. And then once you start seeing what makes the most sense, you could kind of adjust your bid, because you could change landing page copy to be more in line with that that subset of the service, and then your bid costs come down. You can also do things like remarketing to people that have visited the landing page, where it's not a bidding war at that point. It's more so like, hey, you visited us previously, so here's our ad again, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's like for Google ads, it can be tougher to get into that market because it's like sometimes you've got a competitor who's coming in and he's doing like 10 grand a month, right? For Google ads, super aggressive strategy. And it's like if you're coming in lower, if you're coming in at like maybe 3,000 a month or even 5, it's like now you have to be a lot more creative though with some different strategies like what you were talking about to be able to get maybe what's called a long tail keyword, where it's like best basement refinisher in this area instead of like just like basement renovations or something.
For sure. And you can do like keyword research where you could like see in like an ad preview tool, if you type in keywords in a city, you can see the competitors that are showing up, and you could check out maybe 20 of the top keywords and like, oh, I see that no company's really bidding effectively on basement renovations near me.
Yeah.
The ad copy doesn't make sense, XYZ, and then you can go after that subset of the market if you have a smaller budget to work with.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have really large budgets, you can kind of go after everything and just like bid like crazy. And obviously with smaller budgets, you don't really want to get into bidding wars because you're going to exhaust your budget. You're not going to get the data you need. You're not going to get the exposure you want. There's going to be a lot of downside. So
yeah. And so what would you say, kind of what are some of the common mistakes that you would say someone would make with Google ads? Because there's a lot more that they could make.
For sure. So some of the main thing is not bidding in the right service area.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the language is set to the service area, but generally like it's going to be English for most of the people we're talking to here.
Yeah.
And then you want to obviously choose the right keywords. At the start, we would recommend exact match keyword strategy, which is putting brackets around the keyword. And that just basically means that it's the most strict keyword strategy. So like there's broad match, phrase match, exact match being the most specific. And your ads are just going to show for less and less things. So if you do painters near me in broad match, you're going to show up for like yellow paint Home Depot, unless you have a negative keyword list. Whereas if you do exact match painters near me, you're going to show up for like a very small portion of keywords.
Yeah.
Not just painters near me, but like maybe like 10, 20 keywords that are relevant to that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like what Matt's saying is like you can literally control the keywords in terms of like how people are searching it if you want how you want it to show up. So for example, broad match, it's like you put the word painter in there, you're going to bid for everything. You're going to get like painter near me. You're going to also get though like how do I become a painter? How do I like painter courses? You're going to be bidding on like a whole bunch of irrelevant stuff.
For sure. And one thing to mention is like for that kind of stuff, you're going to spend less per click generally onto your landing page, but the likelihood of the traffic to actually convert is much lower.
Low quality. It's low quality traffic.
It's kind of almost like Facebook traffic where it's like maybe they're not looking for the service. They're just like they clicked on the ad. They thought you were going to tell them how much it costs to buy paint at Home Depot, and it turns out you're selling a painting service, and they just leave the page right away.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, it's like you and I, we're seeing this every day where like Facebook, Google, it's changing all the time, right? You go in there, you're like, oh, this is different now. Okay, I guess we're just running it differently like this. Oh, Google's different now. I guess we're just going to implement this new thing. What are some of the big changes that you've seen in terms of like, the landscape right now? Just because, earlier this year, we saw like some of the changes that were happening with Google. And so I made the decision. I was like, okay, we need to hire someone. We need to hire an expert in Google Ads who knows everything, like front, backwards, everything, to be able to show us some of these changes so we're up to like the best possible practices, right? So we hired like, I would say probably one of the best firms, consulting firms for Google Ads. It was actually funny, like I posted on Facebook and I was saying like, hey, we hired like a ex-Google Ads employee, one of the guys from the firm. And then he messaged us through the chat thing that we were going through. He's like, guys, like, don't give me away type thing. And so we won't mention their name or anything like that in here, but they were a tremendous help for us. And Matt, like, I'm just curious, maybe talk a little bit about some of the things he brought to light for you of like the changes.
For sure. Obviously like Google's goal is to make advertisers spend more money. So a lot of the changes they make is kind of like basically just for advertisers to do that. It's like they're showing less keyword lists. They're making exact match less targeted. Whereas before you could make like single keyword ad groups, SKAGs, if anybody knows that, and you would only show up for like that keyword. And like, it was great because obviously you want to bid on the keywords that you want to show up for. And that's changed. Google's made it a lot more broad, even though it's exact match. And then we hired this firm and they taught us things like, okay, how many keywords to put in a keyword theme ad group, how to craft copy in relation to this ad group, to just drive more clicks, to drive higher conversion rates. They gave us benchmarks. So ideally, we're striving for 10% click-through rate on our ads when they show up, and then a 10% conversion rate. So it's quite reasonable. You want to get one high-quality conversion for
10 clicks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quite reasonable. Those were the main takeaways. Obviously, there's more nitty-gritty things. They showed us specific things like how to track phone calls on your website. They set us up like an extension. Google Analytics 4 tracking, we never really used. It was obviously a new thing that we kind of ignored until we didn't have to because we had a previous system in place that was working great. So they helped us get set up with GA4, showed us some tactics there. Implementing Tag Manager, which has worked obviously really good with the GA4 now being the norm and Universal Analytics out the door kind of thing. It's working great with what they showed us. Anything else specifically that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I would say like probably one of the biggest nightmares of the changes that's happened with Google is like this whole ad verification thing, right?
Man,
and so it's like, yeah, so it's like if you guys are running Google Ads right now and you haven't experienced this, probably pretty soon you're going to get a notice where they're going to say you need to verify your account. You need to give us all this
information. Give us everything.
Pretty much. Give us your give us your license, your driver's license. Give us your articles of incorporation. And it's like, you guys submit this. So it's like, if you're one person, okay, maybe that's not that bad. But between 45 clients, then
you run into issues. It's like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yep.
Everybody knows Google support's not super helpful. So we're submitting these documents that we think are up to the standards. It's failing. Ad accounts are getting paused because it's like, guys, it's like Google's like just cracking down, and we're like, we're all trying to get this new policy in place. And it's just so strict, and it's just been really tough. But
and why do you think that? I know a lot of contractors message me and they're like, "What do I do now?" And they send me a screenshot of like their banned Facebook ad account. I'm like, dude, you're screwed. I mean, we can make another ad account, we can try and stuff, but it's like, why do you think that a lot of these companies now are like cracking down so hard?
There's probably a lot of reasons. I mean, like liability is one. For Google specifically, they want searchers on using their search engine to have the best ad experience possible. They don't want to serve garbage ads to people. They don't want people to get scammed. So, they're just working to legitimize businesses. There's so many advertisers, they can kind of have their pick of the litter.
Yeah.
Also with like bans and stuff, they don't really care. They ban you, somebody else is going to come in and bid the exact same amount you were going to bid for these keywords. So it's like, we understand the changes. And we're pretty good at following policies, getting ad accounts unsuspended, doing the advertiser verification, and it makes sense. It's just been such a hassle. And for like the average contractor who maybe isn't familiar with technology or who doesn't have the time, even just like they can do it, but they're just like on the tools all day working, it just kind of sucks. It's just like, wow, this, like for some people, we had one client where like he's like, this is my business, guys. And he came to us. We had to do the ad verification. He was having issues with his corporation. And it's like, man, this guy's relying on these leads that we built up for him. And basically on a whim, Google and the government for his corporation specifically is kind of like putting a barrier. And we're doing everything we can. But it's like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. And it's like, we've had clients who come to us and they're like, hey, I hired this other agency and then my ad account is banned now. Like, can you fix it or whatever? And it's like, thankfully, there are ways around it where like we figured out how to set it up and we were able to fix it. But it's like what you said, for the average contractor, is he going to be able to know how to do that and like figure this out? Like, for the average contractor to just be able to use these tools like Facebook and Google Ads, it's like AI is making it easier to run it, but to be able to troubleshoot some of these, like maybe these support type things, like this is getting much difficult.
Yeah, if I can give like a piece of advice, honestly, what I do is like basically just info dump. I open up the support help forum and I'm just like, give as much information as possible, especially on like the initial contact, because now sometimes certain issues I'm getting unsuspended within like 12 hours. Like literally last night, I was setting up a new client's account, put their credit card in, got banned for suspicious payments, whatever it is. Now I have a pre-built template that I just like copy paste, and they're like, wow, I woke up, it was unbanned. I was like, great.
But that's such a weird world that we're living in, right? Where you set that up and it's like, nope, you're banned, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And then you're just like, oh, cool. I've just got this protocol. It's all good. Here you go, guys. Oh,
And
unbanned.
you're like, wow, you said the right words.
Like, like for the average contractor, they're just going to be like, I'm banned. Like, what?
Yeah, it's like we're setting up to give Google money, and we put our credit card in. They're like, nah, we don't want it.
Okay, yeah. So that's Google ads, Facebook ads. We've touched on that. I want to talk a little bit about Google My Business, just because I think that this is probably one of the most underrated assets that a contractor can have for their traffic, right? It's like sometimes we get a client and I check and it's like, you don't have a Google My Business profile. Dude, we're going to set that up for you. We're going to get it rocking and rolling with a bunch of reviews. Like, that is going to be what you need in your business to be able to get you calls. Because once you've got that ranked up, so if you don't know, Google My Business listing is literally just that little listing on Google where people can leave reviews and find your business in the map section. So what's so awesome about this is that if you rank that to like top 3 results, it's called the 3-pack once you get there, then basically anytime that someone is searching for your business, let's say like flooring contractor near me or whatever, and that 3-pack can show up there, you're not paying for ads. All you got to do is just kind of maintain it with like reviews, etc. And that is now just like leads. Like, you're not paying for those. That's like, once you get that ranked up there, now you're basically just like, you've got this lead generation funnel. So maybe talk a little bit about like, some of the things that you see are important for that. I know I talk about reviews a lot, but what do you think?
I mean, putting as much information into the Google My Business listing as you possibly can is definitely helpful. A good description, lots of keywords, good website, hours, basically just everything that a customer would need to understand your business and know if it's the right decision for them. Google likes, so they're more likely to push it. And then obviously like things like reputation management, getting lots of 5-star reviews, answering your reviews, even if they're negative, like kind of just like trying to shine some light on what happened. Sometimes you get a disgruntled customer that didn't even really do your service and they're just leaving a 1-star review because you didn't go through with their job or you missed their phone call. And we help our clients manage that, get reviews removed occasionally, give good responses. We even have like a new SOP for getting reviews back that don't appear, because that happens all the time where clients are like, we set them up a new Google My Business profile to launch the ads and they're like, oh, we got like 4 quality reviews and they're just like not showing up. And again, another Google thing where it's like, all right, got to go to support, send this thing. Luckily we have a pretty successful SOP to appeal that, but there's so many little things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like I've got a ton of contractors ask like, hey, like my reviews aren't showing up. Like, what do I do? And it's like for the longest time, it's like, just get more reviews, man. Just keep trying. But yeah, like Matt was saying, we were able to figure out how to crack that code through a mutual friend. I have to give him some credit, Louis Vandervalk. Basically now we have a way to be able to get those reviews back or at least get them to show up. And so, but again, that requires you to like reach out to support, do all this stuff, like,
say the right thing. It's not even just like reaching out to support, because a lot of the time, if you don't say the exact thing, they just ignore it. They don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's like, it's getting more tough out there, but you kind of need to know your way around it. You kind of need to be part of the club, I guess, so to speak. Cool. So that's Google My Business. We talked a little bit about landing pages. I kind of want to include maybe on the back end of this, I have that written down, is like just touch on landing pages for traffic, just because it is so important, especially for Google ads. So maybe we'll talk, I described like briefly what it is, but like, are there any things that you would say about the landing page that we're sending people to off of Google that like are particularly important?
I mean, a lot of the aspects of the landing page are important, because that's kind of the nature of landing pages, is to be like, give the quickest, easiest idea to someone landing on the page of what they can expect from the service.
Yeah.
So we generally have a big headline to lead with a great offer, which hopefully captures the person to stay on the page and read the rest of the page. Then we have a good few descriptions of the services they offer. We have before and after pictures of their best work, reviews to cement the fact that they are doing the jobs and that they do a quality work, trust signals, which are, just badges that say like 5-star reviews, years of experience, qualifications they have, whatever it may be, and then just really easy, straightforward landing page lead form that's like the bare minimum of information our clients need to follow up with these leads in an effective manner.
Yeah, it's like I get a lot of contractors ask me. We had a recent client who was like, "Man, why do I need this landing page? Like, I've spent a bunch of money on my website. Can we just run the Google ads to my website?" And there's a bunch of different problems with that. Like, maybe talk a little bit about what are some of the issues that we've seen with like running the ads just to a website.
For sure. I mean, like, just offhand, sometimes people's websites aren't the best. So obviously, if your website's not high caliber and you're going up against people with really good websites, it's just going to be harder to convert. Besides that, if you send traffic to a website that has multiple pages, maybe they can't find the right information, maybe they can't find the lead field, whatever it may be, it just reduces generally the likelihood for that person to convert. It's like, maybe it's good that they could read about your brand. Maybe there are some benefits because you can pack more information onto a website versus a landing page, but that's not really what we're trying to do when people come to a website, when they're searching for, they already need the service. It's like, they don't really need to know all about you. They just need to know you're going to do a good job and that you'll take care of them.
Yeah, like the thing you guys have to understand when it comes to landing pages is the more decisions that you give someone to make, the less likely they are to make that decision, right? And so the purpose of a landing page is to reduce decisions down to one decision. Do I want to get an estimate or not, right? And so that is proven to increase the amount of people who are going to flow through that because they have to make just one decision through that. So it's like, we're not linking out to like, oh, like your social media, your Instagram. It's like sometimes we'll get clients and say like, oh, can I put my Instagram on there? And it's like, yeah, you can, I guess. But like the purpose of the landing page is to not show people all the different assets you have, like your Instagram and your Facebook and like, your association or whatever. It's like, we want to basically just force people to go through the form or to give a call. And so it's like every time that we're introducing these different things to do on there, it's kind of just like, there's no point in doing it anyway, because that's why we're doing it. Another thing too that I like using the landing page for is that it also makes it really obvious like what the performance of the actual Google Ads campaign is and the landing page compared to just your organic website, right? So it's like you're seeing the leads come through the landing page and you're running the Google Ads there. It's like you don't need to have all your tracking set up properly, like to a T, to be able to know, okay, this is really working, right?
Yeah, especially because like we're setting it up so we could set things up with our normal standards and we don't have to work with clients' web host guys where it's like there's lots of back and forth. Maybe they don't set things up right. The tracking's not like spot on where it's like, how do you really know if things are working great? Whereas with a landing page, everything's more or less is streamlined. We know what's working. We can make pivots when we need to.
Yeah. It's like we had a client who was like, hey, like I want to do a test on the website just because I feel like the landing page isn't branded the way that I want it to be, blah, blah, blah. And which is totally fine, by the way. Like, it's like, cool, let's do it. So we did that test and talk a little bit about like what we found from some of that test.
Yeah. So the cost per lead projected by Google was kind of the same. But the thing is like we were seeing 3 conversions on 1 click. The tracking obviously wasn't in place. He had multiple website pages. We had to work with his web guy. Kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's just like, it might get results, and because he had a pretty good website anyway, so it's like, it kind of makes sense that he was getting conversions. But like, it just, the conversions weren't more. It wasn't better. It was like everything was basically the same or better on the landing page, and we could track it better.
Yeah.
So it's like, basically, why would you stress over trying to figure out what's working when you just know what's working with the landing page?
Yeah, 100%. So if you're running Google Ads right now and you're running to a website, the easiest way to start getting better results is literally just make a landing page.
Yeah, showcase basically your best work, what clients can expect. Basically everything a website has, just condensed. That's basically all you're doing. It's like a website is great for fluff, landing pages, straight to the point, specific, highlight the best stuff, and get the lead.
Yeah, a good framework that I like to teach when it comes to landing pages and what we use on ours is an acronym called AIDA. So AIDA. So the A stands for attention. So the headline, the offer grabs the attention. Interest, we're talking directly to them. We're using good language. Our messaging is on point. Desire, we want to show the before and after pictures, have some really good testimonials so they're like, wow, this is really cool. And then the last A is for action, and we want to be able to tell them, hey, get your 100% free, no obligation quote today.
Easy.
Yeah. So that's landing pages. We talked about traffic there. So at this point, we've talked about offers, we talked about the traffic. So the last thing that I want to talk about, at least for today's show, is talking about sales appointment setting. It's like, cool, you've got the offer, you've got the traffic, now you've got the leads coming in. Matt, I want to talk a little bit about, like, from your end of what you've seen, especially on Facebook ads. We could talk about Google ads as well, but just kind of like, what on your end have you seen in terms of sales performances with our clients? Because we have some clients, it's like, boom, $500,000 in 3 months. And then we've got some other clients where it's like, it's slower, right? Like they're definitely like running up against like, hey, like, I called this guy, but like, he like didn't get back to me right away or whatever. It's like they're having some challenges. Like, what have you seen are the challenges that people, and why are they getting those challenges?
For sure. I think the biggest challenge is probably like response time. Some of our clients are on the tools. They can't answer leads right away. And obviously, the faster you answer leads, the higher likelihood you are to at least convert it into a in-person quote and just have that connection with the customer. Obviously, it's a really high standard, but like 5 minutes would be like great. So if you could have either like an appointment setter or ideally yourself who could just respond to clients right away.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you need? I'll call you. Give me your number. Whatever it is, 5 minutes, that'd be great. The longer you wait, the likelihood the lead actually turns into a sale just declines. And then so you have other issues where it's like they maybe called the lead's like on the fence, not answering them. Just like making repeated connections because you don't want to let leads slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
You don't want to be annoying, but you want to be like persistent in like a friendly kind of like manner. Say their name, call them, whatever it is. It's just like, don't let the quality leads slip through the crack because we can only deliver so many leads. And it's like, if you're fumbling the leads, it's just like, what else can we do? We obviously help people with sales training. Like we give them some advice. Some of our contractors are really trained. They do great with all the leads. Others, not so much. And it's just kind of like, at the end of the day, it's,
And it's like, that's where I have to step in and be like, cool, dude, like, are we doing a call and we're going to talk about like appointment setting? It's like role play. Like, we have to figure that stuff out, right? And it's like what you were saying for response time, right? It's like, if someone is requesting for a quote and you call them quick and you book that estimate and you show up and you make a good first impression and like everything makes sense, you are probably going to close that deal. Unless you like really, fumble something in the estimate. What I found and what you guys probably know is that whoever shows up first to that estimate and then you make a good first impression, you're usually closing the job.
Especially with our like angles where we're not going after like discount offers, price shoppers. We're going after people that want like quality service, reputable companies. So if they get a call within like 5 minutes of asking for a quote, and like Matt said, you go to their house, you're personable, you give a fair estimate, you have good work, they're probably going to work with you.
So it's like, on the flip side of that, though, it's like we have some clients where it's like it's been a challenge to coach them through this process because they're so used to being a technician where you're like doing the contracting, right? Like you're doing the flooring, you're doing the roofing, you're doing the painting. And it's like they may not necessarily be used to the appointment setting sales aspect, right? They're used to maybe getting mostly referrals. And by the way, guys, like a referral is going to be the easiest lead to close. They trust you. They're like, yeah, like I want to work with you, blah, blah, blah. It pretty much comes down to like, yeah, if the price makes sense to me and you don't completely like mess this up, I'll work with you.
Yeah, it's like if somebody's brother's like referring them to a company, like it's pretty easy to close them.
Yeah.
There's not much like...
Yeah. Whereas when you're doing advertising, these people don't know you, right? So you need to pick up the phone like Matt was talking about, and you need to be able to book and do appointment setting, right? So this means like you pick up the phone and you just real quick ask some questions, right? Is this person who we want to work with? Okay, how long have you been thinking about doing this project for? Have you ever worked with a contractor before? You can spot some quick, easy red flags, right? And it's like, okay, at this point, this sounds like a pretty good project. Then let's book it in and then meet up with the person. A a lot of people too, I'll talk about this. It's like for the estimates, if we ever have a client who's struggling to close deals, like they're going out for estimates, they're, like they have no problem putting out estimates, but they're struggling to close the actual deals. Usually what that means to me is that they're emailing over the estimates. And what that looks like is basically, you're going out for the estimate, you write everything, and you say, okay, I'm going to send you something over, right? And you don't even give like a time of when you're going to send that over. And then you send that over, and then the person gets it, they open it up, and then they're like, whoa, this is super expensive. Hey, honey, come over here. This guy's crazy. And then they look at it, and then they're like, hey, we're going to get some other quotes. And then you're wondering why they're ghosting you and why you don't hear back from them. It's because you didn't have the chance to be able to explain the price, right?
Like, it's not like pressuring people into a sale. It's basically just like meeting objections.
Yeah.
Because your service is worth it. You know why you're charging for your service. And it's just explaining that to the customer. And if they just see a huge number in an email, in a text message on Facebook, whatever it is, they're probably going to get other quotes. And then, like, if you're not the last point of contact, your likelihood to actually close them goes down, down, down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, most of our clients will charge more than the average contractor in their industry. Like, that's typically kind of what we want to get them to, because then you're doing a lot less work, a lot less jobs, and you're still being able to hit your goals, and you're able to pay your guys much better, right? Because when you have a good lead generation funnel, then you don't have to worry and scrape the bottom of the barrel, right? You can actually charge what you're worth. And so sometimes you're going to get people who it's legitimately out of their price range, and that's okay. It's like, hey, no problem. It just seems like it's not a good fit. Maybe you can work with this guy or whatever. Like, I heard that he's a little bit cheaper or blah, blah, blah. But, for the most part, you want to be able to present your quote, not just show it through an email. You want to walk someone through it over the phone or ideally in person. Okay, this is why this is that price, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get this, you're going to get this. And then you can walk them through the next steps.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of a little tangent. One thing that we try to do with our clients too is like track how many estimates they're putting out, what their sales are. And doing that kind of gives us a good idea of where the issues may lie. So, if they're not putting out estimates, we look at the lead quality. Is the lead quality good? Okay. How fast are they responding? If they're responding fast, pivot again. Whereas like without any knowledge of how many estimates are going out, how many sales they're doing, we're kind of in the dark because we're delivering the leads, but like, where's the issue? Why aren't they making the sales?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, yeah, if we're able to track the progress that they made from a sales end, track the progress of like how many estimates, like you were saying, then it's like, cool, we can find the bottleneck in that. But it's just tough sometimes if clients aren't going to give us that information, right? So this is kind of where I want to segue into the importance of a CRM, because like if you don't know what a CRM is, it's basically client relationship management tool. And so basically all it is it's just a simple tool that you can use to be able to track your leads. So you can track, okay, I got this person an estimate. I got this guy. He's a Rumble client, which basically means like, I call it a Rumble client where it's like, let's get ready to Rumble, So you've delivered everything. They know what it costs. And you're literally like, are we doing this or not? And for a lot of contractors, if they just had like a list of Rumble clients where it's like, these are the people I need to just stay on top of, like we were talking about, they would probably double their sales.
For sure.
Yeah.
There are times where you just say like, hey, reach out to these leads and they go through and they're like, oh, I closed 2 of those jobs. It's like, wow, you just had like 20K of work just sitting in your pipeline that you didn't close.
Yeah, we have this flooring client, and that was kind of the case where it was like, we're like, oh, like maybe you should give those people a call again or whatever. And he's like, oh, I just gave him a call and I booked in those 2 jobs. Like, thanks guys. And
it's like great.
Yeah, so it's like, and guys, like you don't have to overcomplicate this. I mean, I can name off some CRMs, there's Jobber, there's like the one that we use, it's called Begin by Zoho. Honestly, just type in like CRM tool in Google and just find like whatever works for you.
Watch a YouTube tutorial.
Yeah, like honestly, like it doesn't really matter what you're using, but as long as basically you can track your leads. It's like we've got one client, he's super like untech savvy, and so I literally told him, I just said, just have a little booklet, and every lead that you get where you do an estimate or something, write their name, their number, and their email in there, and then just like put a check mark beside it when you do XYZ, just so that like you can open up that booklet and be like, cool, like who do I need to call this morning? Because so many contractors, they wake up in the morning and they're like, I need new business, and then they're looking at like, okay, like how can I find that? Where can I go? But they don't realize that like it's already in your pipeline. You just need to follow up with people.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Like, I think offers, traffic, sales. That's mostly what I wanted to cover for the world-class advertising for contractors. So Matt, maybe I'll just kind of, is there anything that we didn't touch on, or anything maybe that you would say is like very important for a contractor to know when it comes to advertising? Just last thoughts.
Well, I guess when working with a marketing agency, maybe like just having communication is really important. Because it's give and take. We want to get the best results for our clients. They want the best results for themselves. And as long as we're talking, we can almost definitely work it out. And we just see sometimes where people are so busy, and if they're not answering us, for example, it's like, what are they doing with the leads? And we can see it. And it's just like, communication is really important.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, like, yeah, communication is really important to us. That's why, like, we've got like a group chat, and we're like, our success manager, Jess, is reaching out and being like, hey, like, how many leads, how many estimates have you done? Like, where are we sitting at with that? Because then again, that allows, the feedback and being able to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, our team is cool. It's like pretty dynamic. Like, we have a person for kind of each role, where it's like Jess is the customer service side, I'm like the numbers side, and you're like the sales kind of face and just like established marketer.
Yeah. No, yeah, really, really good. So, dude, great having you today, chatting about stuff.
It was a good podcast. Good time.
Super good. For the first one, super fun. So, guys, that was this episode on the Contractor Marketing Show, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care, guys.